arriving from a trip around Walt Disney Magic Kingdom. Passengers will stand by to board.
For those who just joined us, welcome aboard Excursion through the Disneyland Railroad. Please remain seated at all times, keeping those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Please supervise your children and make sure they're sitting away from all train openings. Our next stop is Main Street Station. But before we get back to Main Street, we'll be making a slight detour through the Grand Canyon. So please no flash photography or video lighting in the tunnel up ahead. Unfortunately, our dinosaur friends are still on their vacation. They should be returning sometime towards the end of the month.
To those who have just come aboard, welcome. The next leg of our journey will take us from the fantastic world of the future to the breathtaking beauty of nature's own design, the Grand Canyon. For your safety, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Watch your children and no flash photography.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Por favor, no tome fotografías con flash.
As we know it today. But it wasn't always this way. Now, let's travel back in time, way back in time, to the fantastic past of the primeval world, land of the dinosaurs. Returning to our own time and to Main Street Station, gateway to Disneyland. If you're leaving us here, stay in your seat until we come to a full stop. Remember to gather all your personal belongings and step carefully from the train. I I'd especially like to thank those of you who've been with me for the Grand Circle Tour of Disneyland. We hope you enjoyed your travels with us and that you'll come back to ride with us again.
We are now steaming our way back into Main Street Station, so please remain seated till the train makes a full stop. Just a friendly reminder, Main Street is the only station that has stairs, no ramps. So if you're traveling on heavy strollers or wheelchairs, please keep them folded to get to the bottom of the stairs. Alrighty folks, this train does have a green light, so please remain seated. Our next stop is going to be New Orleans Square. Ready?
So there's Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, we're going back. Disneyland Railroad. I think that's the Disneyland Railroad. The one that was talking about. Where's the submarine?
Welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. We're embarking on a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. We'll be stopping at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. We'll also visit the Grand Canyon and make a trip back in time to the primeval world and the age of the dinosaurs before returning to Main Street Station. As we begin our journey, remember that for a safe trip, you need to stay seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your children.
Bienvenidos a bordo del Disneyland Railroad. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
Our first stop is New Orleans Square Station, but to get there, we need to pass through the wilds of Adventureland. It may seem peaceful through here, but trust me, it's a real jungle out there, literally. So be on the lookout. You just never know what might be lurking along the rails. Just ahead is New Orleans Square Station. This station also serves Frontierland and Critter Country. If you'll be leaving us here, please remain seated until the train comes to a complete stop. Then watch your step as you're getting off. For those of you continuing on,
please remain seated till the train makes a full and complete stop. Welcome to New Orleans Square Station, your gateway for Adventureland, Frontierland, New Orleans, and Critter Country. With attractions like the Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Pirates of the Caribbean, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Indiana Jones, Adventure the World Famous Jungle Cruise, and Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. Just joined us. Welcome aboard Excursion for the Disneyland Railroad. Please remain seated at all times, keeping those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Please supervise your children and make sure they're sitting away from all train openings. Our next stop is Mickey's Toontown Depot, your gateway for Mickey's Toontown and Fantasyland.
To those just joining us, welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. To ensure a safe ride, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
We're now entering Splash Mountain, rumored to be the location of the one and only Laughing Place. If you look real hard, you just might find it. It's where the critters are celebrating a zippity-doo-dah day. Speaking of critters, this place we're passing over is home to a whole bunch of them. Here in Critter Country, you can join Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Brer Rabbit, and Brer Bear on their fun-filled adventures. As we steam past Hungry Bear Restaurant, the last outpost in these parts, we're now joining up with the rivers of America and entering the frontier as it looked more than a century and a half ago. This is my favorite part of the journey. Around every bend, there's natural beauty as far as the eye can see. Since the 1800s, traveling through nature's wonderland in a matter of days, rather than the months it used to take by mule or stagecoach. Steam power not only fueled these iron horses, but the dreams of a whole new generation as it moved west into this great frontier. Of course, some of those dreams and the stories that went with them were pretty darn wild and downright unbelievable, like on Big Thunder Mountain, where I hear that mysterious spirits have grabbed hold of those mining trains and turned them into the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Alrighty folks, looks like this train might be slowing down to an unscheduled stop, so if the train does stop, please remain seated. Alrighty folks, this train's coming to an unscheduled stop, so please remain seated. We're just waiting for the train ahead of us at Mickey's Toontown to fully depart. So that this train can proceed into Mickey's Toontown, so please remain
take your
seated.
seat. Do not stand. Please take your seat. Thank you.
Once again folks, everyone needs to remain seated because the train can begin to move at any time, so please remain seated. We're just waiting for the train ahead of us to fully depart.
Hi, please take your seat. Once again, folks, you need to remain seated at all times. Thank you.
They stopped it, right? We're waiting for the train in front of us now.
Alright folks, it seems like we'll be on our way. Just a moment, just remain seated. Once again folks, please remain seated. The train will be moving shortly. We are now steaming our way into Mickey's Toontown Depot, so please remain seated until the train makes a full and complete stop inside the station. That'll be your stop for all things in Mickey's Toontown, all for Fantasyland, with attractions like Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, the Gadget Go Coaster. You can meet Mickey and his pals inside their houses at Mickey's Toontown. That'll also be your stop for Is the Small World, Battle Card Bobsled, Peter Pan's Flight, Snow White's Scary Adventures, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, King Arthur's Carousel, Pinocchio's Dirty Dirty, Casey Junior Circus train, Kimball the Flying Elephant, Story of the Canals, Alice in Wonderland, and the Magic Party Teacups. Now to be stopped by the next showing of Mickey and the Magical Map. It does begin at 1:05. Right across the train station at the Disneyland Theater.
Signals our transition from the frontier to another kind of gear. The ones you'll find on Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Our next stop is Toontown Depot, official train station for Mickey's Toontown. Cartoon home where Mickey, Minnie, and all their friends live. Toontown Depot is also the gateway to Fantasyland, where you'll find many of your favorite Disney animated characters and stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step carefully from the train. Have fun, and say hi to Mickey and Minnie for me. Those of
Please remain seated when the train makes a going complete stop. Welcome to Mickey's Toontown Depot. We get away from Mickey's Toontown and Fantasyland. Also, folks, make sure that Mickey's Toontown will be in the middle. Enjoy that show. There's no loss in our DC. Alrighty, folks, this train does have a green light, so please remain seated. Our next stop is the future Tomorrowland.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Disneyland Railroad. For a safe ride, remember to stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we leave Toontown Depot, we get a real nice view of the happiest land of them all, Fantasyland. You can see people stepping onto It's a Small World just below us. And, off in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain. Steaming forward into the future to a land inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and star speeders, submarines and astroblasters, and, if you look overhead, maybe a glimpse of a Mark 7 monorail. This is the latest version of the first daily operating monorail system in the entire Western Hemisphere, gliding above Disneyland since 1959. Below the monorail, and us, are the fun-filled roadways of the Autopia. Drivers of all ages can get behind the wheel of these cars. No experience or license required. If you're into soaring spaceships or doing battle with evil empires and emperors, Tomorrowland is definitely the place for you. Speaking of which, we're pulling into Tomorrowland Station right now. If you're leaving us here, just stay seated until we come to a full stop. Gather your belongings.
Please remain seated to the train makes a going complete stop. Welcome to the future Tomorrowland. It's a new stop for Autopia, Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, the Disneyland Monorail, which takes you to the downtown Disney District and back, Space Mountain, Star Tours, and Buzz Lightyear's Action Blasters. light detour through the Grand Canyon, so please no flash photography or video lighting in the tunnel up ahead. Unfortunately, our dinosaur friends are still on their vacation. They should be returning sometime towards the end of the month.
Bummer, no dinosaurs.
To those who have just come aboard, welcome. The next leg of our journey will take us from the fantastic world of the future to the breathtaking beauty of nature's own design, the Grand Canyon. For your safety, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Watch your children and no flash photography.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Por favor, no tome fotografías con flash.
Canyon as we know it today. But it wasn't always this way. Now, let's travel back in time, way back in time, to the fantastic past of the primeval world, land of the dinosaurs. We're now returning to our own time and to Main Street Station, gateway to Disneyland. If you're leaving us here, stay in your seat until we come to a full stop. Remember to gather all your personal belongings and step...
We are now steaming our way back into Main Street Station, so please remain seated until the train makes a full and complete stop. Just a friendly reminder, Main Street is the only station that has stairs, no ramp. So if you're traveling with any drawers or wheelchairs, please keep them folded to get to the bottom of the stairs.
This is Main Street Station, Main Street, USA.
For those who are aboard the Disneyland Railroad, for your safety, please remain seated, keeping your hands up. Flash route, heading back to the way to Belle, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Marsh River boat.
See now,
After the station to the second introduction in French and so Spanish.
Parents, make sure any small children are seated away from the openings on the right or seated on adult lawn. Our next stop is Mickey's Toontown Depot, gateway to Fantasyland.
Yeah, but on the sign it said children 7 and under need to be accompanied. So you can yourself.
To those just joining us, welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. To ensure a safe ride, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños.
We're now entering Splash Mountain, rumored to be one and only laughing place. If you look real hard, you just might find it. It's where the critters are celebrating a zippity doo-dah day. Speaking of critters, this place we're passing over is home to a whole bunch of them. Here in Critter Country, you can join Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Rare Rabbit, and Rare Bear on their fun-filled adventures.
Oh yeah. Face first.
I'm gonna go down.
As we steam past Hungry Bear Restaurant, last outpost in these parts, we're now joining up with the Rivers of America and entering the frontier as it looked more than a century and a half ago. This is my favorite part of the journey. Around every bend, there's natural beauty as far as the eye can see. But the dreams of a whole new generation as it moved west into this great frontier. Of course, some of those dreams and the stories that led with them were pretty darn wild and downright unbelievable. Like on Big Thunder Mountain, where I hear that mysterious spirits have grabbed hold of those mining trains and turned them into the wildest ride in the wilderness. Depot is also the gateway to Fantasyland, where you'll find many of your favorite Disney animated characters and stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step carefully from the train. Have fun, and say hi to Mickey and Minnie for me. Those of you continuing on with us, we'll be resuming our trip in just a moment. This is Toontown Depot, Mickey's Toontown.
Alright folks, please remain seated so we go to a full stop inside the station. Your stop for all attractions is Fantasyland as well as Mickey's Toontown. It's FASTPASS Theater. The next performance, Mickey and Magical Map, will be at 2:15.
What happened? They have that?
Yeah, it's like a break.
Well, we didn't have it.
So like rocks.
We would have to rock ourselves.
Do that too. Kind of break.
folks, please remain seated. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Parents, make sure any small children are seated away from the openings on the right or seated up in adult slots.
And then I touched it.
Hello,
Next stop,
everyone.
Tomorrowland.
Thanks for joining us on the Disneyland Railroad. Inside the train, and please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we leave Toontown Depot, we get a real nice view of the happiest land in the world, Fantasyland. You can see people stepping onto the small world just below us. And off in the distance, the majestic Matterhorn Mountains. Steaming forward into the future to a land inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and star steamers, submarines and astroblasters, and, if you look overhead, maybe a glimpse of a Mark 7 monorail. This is the latest version of the first daily operating monorail system in the entire Western Hemisphere, gliding above Disneyland since 1959. Below the monorail, and us, are the fun-filled roadways of the Autopia. Drivers of all ages can get behind the wheel of these cars. No experience or license required. If you're into soaring spaceships or doing battle with evil empires and emperors, Tomorrowland is definitely the place for you. Speaking of which, we're pulling into Tomorrowland Station right now. If you're leaving us here, just stay seated until we come to a full stop.
Party folks, please remain seated until we come to a full stop inside the station. To the future.
And have fun in the future. For the rest of you, just sit tight. We'll be on our way again in just a minute.
Howdy folks, for your safety, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Parents, make sure any small children are seated away from the openings. Adventures, well as downtown Disney. You're leaving us here to remain seated until the train comes to a full stop inside the station.
We're now returning to...
There are no ramps here at Main Street, there are only stairs. So if you have your strollers with you, I think those pull it until you get down to the bottom.
Stay in your seat until we come to a full stop. Remember to gather all your personal belongings and step carefully from the train. I'd especially like to thank those of you who've been with me for the Grand Circle Tour of Disneyland. We hope you...
It's at 94 today. You don't want to take out if when our house runs your big head, this will go down.
Howdy folks, welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. For your safety, please remain seated. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Parents, make sure any small children are seated away from the openings on the right or seated on the adult lap. Next stop is New Orleans Square.
Not us.
Welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. We're embarking on a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. We'll be stopping at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. We'll also visit the Grand Canyon and make a trip back in time to the primeval world and the age of the dinosaurs before returning to Main Street Station. As we begin our journey, remember that for a safe trip, you need to stay seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your children.
Bienvenidos a bordo del Disneyland Railroad. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Keep
Our first stop is New Orleans Square Station. But to get there, we need to pass through the wilds of Adventureland. So be on the lookout. You just never know what might be lurking along the rails. Just ahead is
Alright, folks, please remain seated until the train comes to a full stop inside the station. Your stop for attractions like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Flying Mouse, many amenities, Winnie the Pooh, Big Bend Around Railroad, the Mark Twain Riverboat,
and watch your
and much
step
more.
as you're getting on. For those of you continuing on with us, we'll be resuming our trip in just a moment. This is New Orleans Square Station. New Orleans Square.
We're gonna be able to get past it.
I'm gonna sit here.
Yeah, no problem.
Keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Parents, supervise children and make sure any small children are seated away from the openings on the right or seated on the adult's lap. Next stop is Mickey's Toontown Depot, gateway to Fantasyland.
It's where the critters are celebrating a zippity-doo-dah day. Speaking of critters, this place we're passing over is home to a whole bunch of them. Here in Critter Country, you can join Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Brer Rabbit, and Brer Bear on their fun-filled adventures.
Look over there, do you see it? Oh, wow. Yeah, right?
As we steam past Hungry Bear Restaurant, the last outpost in these parts, we're now joining up with the rivers of America and entering the frontier as it looked more than a century and a half ago. This is my favorite part of the journey. Around every bend, there's natural beauty as far as the eye can see. There is the revered Indian shaman, sharing his stories with those in the great river valley below. People like you have been riding these trails since the 1800s, traveling through nature's wonderland in a matter of days, rather than the months it used to take by mule or stagecoach. Steam power not only fueled these iron horses, but the dreams of a whole new generation as it moved west to this great frontier. Of course, some of those dreams, and the stories that went with them, were pretty darn wild and downright unbelievable. Like on Big Thunder Mountain, where I hear that mysterious spirits have grabbed hold of those mining trains and turned them into the wildest ride in the wilderness. This tunnel signals a transition from the frontier to another kind of world. One you'll find on Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Our next stop is Toontown Depot, the official train station for Mickey's Toontown, the cartoon home where Mickey, Minnie, and all their friends live. Toontown Depot is also the gateway to Fantasyland, where you'll find find many of your favorite Disney animated characters and stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step carefully from the train. Have fun.
Sorry, folks, please remain seated until the train comes to a full stop inside the station. Here's a stop for all attractions in Fantasyland as well as Mickey's Toontown. Here's the Fantasyland theater. The next performance of Mickey the Magical Map will be starting in about 5 minutes. There's plenty of seating left if you'd like to watch that. Remain seated until we're fully stopped inside the station.
We're in Toontown now. Do you want to see a video of the characters are out?
Sorry, folks, now ready to depart. For your safety, just remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Parents may
And, off in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain.
we took a full stop inside the station. Hi folks, your safety, please remain seated. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. California Adventures as well as downtown Disney. We're leaving us here to the main street, so we're going to fully stop inside the station. No ramp here at Main Street, they're only here. The favorite stores, you have to leave those full beds to take it down.
Thank those of you who've been with me for the Grand Circle Tour of Disneyland. We hope you enjoyed your travels with us and that you'll come back to ride with us again real soon. For those of you staying with us,
Folks, for your safety, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Please make sure
to get there, we need to pass through the wilds of Adventureland. It may seem peaceful through here, but trust me, it's a real jungle out there. Literally. So be on the lookout. You just never know what might be lurking along the rails.
Bob, you are
ride, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.